So shortly after getting married, the relationship with my mom and dad got really, really bad. It got so bad to the point that we were writing notes to each other. In hindsight, you look back, they became one-way communication. So there was no dialogue with them. Looking back, there were nasty things that were said on both sides. And I think that's one of the regrets of all the championships that Beverly and I had done, that because we weren't speaking, they were really not a part of the joys that Beverly and I experienced in terms of winning that first Canadian championship, or the second or third, or the North American, or, competing internationally and all of that. They heard about us through their friends or through the newspapers and the media and all of that. But we didn't have that special relationship that I felt that we could have shared. So I know during that time period, one of the things I said to myself was, at some point, if something happened to mom and dad and I never got to see them again, it would be such a waste. When my mom mentioned that she had breast cancer, I think the initial reaction was just shock. So there's moments of just thoughts rushing to the head of past memories and how you can help, and feeling helpless. I remember a conversation I had at that point, what can be done about it. You read stuff on the internet, you try to listen, but I think it gave us a chance to, well, I hope it gave us a chance to get to know each other a little bit better, not as mother, son. Think of it more as friends supporting each other. But going through that stage, it was just to listen, just to have that time that she could express those things. So I got to know her disappointments in life. And it affected me in the sense that I know for myself, in talking with my mom, I understand, I think I understand within myself that if one is towards one's end of life, or thought of one's end of life, there must be things that we go through where we want to reconcile different things. And so that was kind of in my head, that, I would hear little glimpses of conversation from my mom that sounded like regrets in her life. A comment she made about the fact that I have cancer, why am I being punished for this? And therefore, maybe one of the reasons is that she sent a nasty message to her sister, and God is punishing me for this. And I found that as an opportunity, because I recall that from my youth, that my mom and her sister had a really bad relationship. She lived in Malaysia, and she asked me to mail this particular letter that was in response to sister. And I remember looking at that letter, even as a young adult, a teenager, and said, I'm not going to mail this. So I kept that letter. I never mailed it. And I'm glad I did that, because it ended up being a regret that she said that I sent that letter to my sister. And it was at that point I said to her, when you asked me to send that letter, I didn't send it. So you can rest assured that whatever regret or whatever it is that you had, the letter never went. So you don't need to feel guilty, because as far as your sister, nothing happened. And therefore, I had hope that would be enough to at least ease her mind that the regret that she felt for that was ultimately not true. So those were very impactful for me, because it made me start to think about, what are my own regrets? And you go up in the early part of your stages, you focus on different things, and when you're a young adult, career is important. And then as you get older, you hear different things. So I'd hear my mom during certain points of my young adult life saying, in the grand scheme of things, it's not about money, it's about health. And it really made an impact on me going through this time period, because it is true. It is ultimately not about the things you have, but the relationships you have with people. The health is an important part of that. When we were able then to have that conversation, then it felt really good for me, because then all the hangups of the past and what the obligations was, and now it's more support. What do you need? What can we do? And also giving hope, because eventually that's the thing's going to happen. But I think that's the biggest thing that I have, is the sense to give someone the hope. So there's always a contradiction. It feels, on the one hand, there's deep sadness. The other hand, there's hope. And then the other hand is, in spite of sadness and challenges, that one has to will oneself to overcome. One has to give hope to others who may have those weak spots. And so that's kind of the thing that I live with.